We are live. Let's get
Mhm.
Instagram rolling. How are you, my darling? I feel so lost. I haven't been able to talk to you all day.
I know, right? Yeah,
Oh,
it's been
where?
a definitely been a long day today. It's been a this project that I'm on. Well, first of all, before we get into all that, let me say hi to everyone that's joining us on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, um, 3 Facebook pages, 2 Instagram pages. And hello to those listening to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. There we go.
There you go. Give me just a second. For some reason, Instagram friends of mine are being a pain. Technology is wonderful, except for when it doesn't cooperate with us. So,
Yeah.
with that being said, my Instagram did not want to roll tonight. So 2 seconds
Technical,
here,
technical.
right?
Yeah.
Come on. Well, it says it's live, but sorry, Instagram, you are not live. I feel like we need Jeopardy music or something. Do,
I
do,
know,
do,
right?
do, 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 do.
That's
Sorry,
funny.
friends. Well, we're having technical difficulty. I just want to set the room before we get into conversation of if anyone has questions. We both put questions out earlier. All right, there we are. Welcome my Instagram, as well as the other platforms. But if anyone has questions and are tuning in, feel free to drop them in the comments or drop them in the YouTube chat, and we will get questions answered. In addition, how are you, my darling? You were saying you've been on this project.
Yeah, this project for work. So my other job is I am a software trainer. So I train software to corporations and law firms and the government. I've done a big project with the government too that I just came off of. But um, yeah, so 2 days last week and today I had to do on average 13 to 14 classes in an 8 hour period. It was basically I would teach for 20 minutes and then start the next class and basically had about 5 minutes in between. But people come into these meetings early, so I so after
Mm.
13 classes, I'm tired of hearing my own voice.
I get that. I get that. Yes, it's been a Monday here, but that's okay. We end up and we got through. It started out a little rough with my daughter calling me first thing this morning at 5:30, quarter till 6, saying that her car got vandalized and broke into last night. So nothing like a sharp cortisol spike first thing in the morning.
Yeah,
Um, but that's all right. She was safe. She wasn't in the car when it happened. So that's always, I guess the silver lining of it, right? She noticed it when she went out to work, and car window, nothing was taken out of the car, and the car window can be replaced. So, um, yeah, there's there is that, but that's kind of how my day started. So, what do you do when your cortisol is already elevated? But I didn't force it. I went on about my normal routine of eating breakfast first thing and getting all that in. But like I said, if anyone has questions, put them in the chat. Um, we'll get them answered.
absolutely. So, yeah, it was funny right before we started. My friend texted me and she says, have you eaten the sauerkraut that you bought the other day? And I thought, oh, that got pushed back in the back of the refrigerator. I totally forgot I bought it. I guess I'll be eating that tomorrow. So,
Come on,
and
girlfriend, we're doing the challenge.
I know. Yeah, well, today was, and I'll tell you what's wild is when I train that intensive, when I hold those type of classes, even drinking water, I have to
Yeah.
be super careful how much I even drink because I can't stop to have a bio break, right? So last week I did the 2 days back to back, and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Remember, I told you, I said, I am so dehydrated. Like I could just feel it. Well, I can feel it now already because I didn't drink near enough of the hydrogen water. Barely got it, barely got, I don't even know how many steps. Like it's ridiculous. 1,388 steps, which is pretty good for doing what I did today. But, and it's, um, this is life, right? You had life happen
Mm.
to you this morning with your daughter calling. This is life. This is the project I'm on right now. So life happens. And I think that is, those are some perfect examples of healing the whole body and going beyond the nutrition. And how do you deal with things like that? How do you deal with the frustrations, and especially this time of year with the holidays? That's added stress on top of it as well. So, what tips can you give our audience on anything to do with what you and I just experienced today?
Well, so the biggest thing, I'm going to end up a backtrack on that. So the biggest thing is doing this challenge, right? Because that's one of the things as part of the MFF challenge that I'm doing is eating 3 meals a day. So I got up, I had, my bacon and sauerkraut and yogurt, and I ate my meal. That helps to also, because the body doesn't know if it's waking up because it's stressed out or it's waking up and needing to go outrun a bear. The body doesn't perceive stress and, categorizes it, right? It doesn't know whether it's under emotional stress, physical stress, financial stress, or harmful stress, right? And going to be attacked by that bear. So anything that we can do to help calm that and activate the parasympathetic. So I did end up and get out this morning, even though it was cool. I know a lot of people are like, I don't understand how you get out in the cold. It's 30 degrees. Um, it's not cold yet for Nebraska. Um, 30s, 50s for, beginning of December, we're doing pretty good. We don't have snow on the ground. So it wasn't bad, but getting out there, doing the breath work, doing a lot of that parasympathetic. I will, make sure that I'm in bed at a decent time tonight, really, get that sleep, but just really nourishing the body helps truly. That's probably one of the biggest things is being consistent with those things that you can control, right?
Mm, yes.
And not overreacting.
Hmm.
I could have like completely just lost it this morning when she called and said the window was broke, but and I love what friend of mine said on Insta over on Instagram, sorry, I'm reading comments of you're so chill because it doesn't benefit me to get that worked up, right? She called. I'm like, okay, she, was crying and I get it. She's never had anything like that happen, but I'm like, first of all, you need to calm down. You need to, stop crying. You're not hurt. You need, and I just put it into perspective of you got to call law enforcement, you got to call, and put those steps out. And so for me, that's one of the biggest things. Um, yeah, I agree, Ruth. When it's 20 below, guess what? We'll still be out there, girlfriend. She said, see you in January when it's -20. Absolutely. Ruth and I both go out and do grounding in the snow, and so we'll be there. Um, but it's just that aspect of control your controllables and keep what you can structure as practices in place. Um, you know, but that's the biggest thing for me anyway, because I'm not big on taking a lot of different things. So it's like, what can I do naturally? Grounding, sunrise, being outside in nature, um, truly end up and help to reset that nervous system too. Making sure that you're getting, quality fats and protein at that morning meal helps. Anything along those lines are going to help with calming you first thing in the morning.
Right. Right. Definitely. And I mean, I didn't have a great night myself last night. I woke up at 2 o'clock. And for the audience to know, my husband left yesterday to go to Italy for work. So when I woke up, my immediate thought was, because you can track the airplane on Google, and I think there's a Flight Aware app that you can literally see where they're at in the sky and over the map. And so I picked the phone up in the middle of the night. Now I do keep my phone on I keep it on a red at night. So and I looked to see where he was at. Well, they had landed in Frankfurt and they were taxiing. So I text him and said, I see you just landed. And then he came back with, why are you awake? And it's like, oh, good question. But, I think in the back of my mind, I was very aware that he was traveling and, was thinking about that for sure. But yeah, so yeah, I I guess what the big thing that I've been hearing a lot lately with my clients and friends and things like that is they're just not sleeping, or they wake up in the middle of the night, or you go to lay down and your mind races 1,000 miles a minute and you start going through the day, or, even go back to, what happened to you in 7th grade or something like, and I remember when I first started down this healing journey, that was one thing I kept hearing and reading over and over, was how important sleep was. And I just never understood. It was like, well, everybody says how important it is, but they don't really come right out and say what to do and how to handle it. And how do you get sleep? And it took me quite some time until actually you and I connected up. And you started talking about the importance of blue blocking glasses. And I did get a pair. These aren't it, but when the sun goes down, these are on. And they make such a huge difference that the first time I wore them, it felt like my body just went thud. And it was about an hour before I went to bed. Now, I was one of those chronic people where it's like, well, I'm up at midnight, 1 o'clock before I shut down to go to sleep. I was actually tired. And that's when, little light bulbs started going off about, melatonin production, right? And what was happening with the cortisol. And I slowly started incorporating getting up. I didn't get up at the crack of dawn. I was lucky to get up by, 7 o'clock. But I would still get up and go outside and get that morning light in my eyes. And I started slowly progressing right towards all of that. Now, am I great at getting up at the crack of dawn to go out and see the sunrise? No. It's a little more difficult when you live in a travel trailer, because if I open that door and shut that door, my husband's awake and he wouldn't take too kindly of it. But I can open a window, and I do. And so that helps me get that morning light, that sunrise in. But when you don't do it after a while and then you do it again, you can see a big difference. But that's been really a huge factor in my healing journey, was learning how to calm yourself and go to sleep at night.
Mhm.
And then how do you stay asleep at night? And, and it's a process that you have to work on. But I understand that people just don't know where to start. And you do teach in the BNC community a sleep meeting.
Yeah, because a lot of people do struggle with that, and they don't realize how much of our body, the processes of our body actually
Yeah.
happen while we're sleeping.
Yeah.
So even like right now, right? We optimize our evening. You can see for both of us that it's dark outside. Why are we sitting in red light? Right? Because that intensity, that lux of light, you want low. Typically below 10 lux of light in the evening time, because otherwise you're going to end up and stimulate cortisol, right? My computer screen is red. You were talking about the phone screen being red. Um, I have to work in the office in the evening, so my lighting is red. It's all these little steps that I've put into place or we've put into place to optimize our circadian rhythm, making sure that, to answer Dodi's question over on Instagram, time intervals between meals. The only hard set interval that I truly have with my meals is eating in the morning, um, making sure that I'm eating, usually it's 30 to 60 minutes of being up, and then making sure for me that I'm done eating at least 3 to 4 hours before bedtime in the evening. Now, that will kind of condense a little bit in the wintertime, so I eat a little bit more circadian aligned, if you will. Eat with sunrise, eat with before sunset, or skip an evening meal. It depends. I don't do that every night, so the evening meal in the wintertime gets shifted a little bit depending how my day goes. But um going back to the sleep aspect, and again, if anyone else has questions, put them in the chat. Uh Making sure that the light is low in the evening time, making sure that that lux or that intensity, because it will stimulate a secondary cortisol response. Well, what opposes cortisol is melatonin. So if your cortisol is high, your insulin is high, you're not going to have that melatonin production. So you're not going to get quality sleep. Um, you don't get quality sleep. You don't have leptin docking to the hypothalamus. You don't end up and have your body signaling proper energy use. If you also have that high cortisol, there's things that you can do in the evening, and that's one of the things I work with my one-on-one clients with, is what can you put into place, not just about nutrition. I work in the BNC, like you said, we have a sleep meeting, but how can you structure an evening routine to where maybe you're taking an Epsom salt bath or a magnesium bath. If Epsom salt isn't your thing, I realize Epsom salt is magnesium, but there's a whole thing in regards of some people can't tolerate the Epsom salt because of the sulfates. So if you just do magnesium flakes, that works too. But control your lighting, control your magnesium. Magnesium helps. A lot of us are in a stress state anyway that depletes the magnesium. So if you can take an Epsom salt bath, not doing a high intensity exercise, many people will work a 9 to 5 or a 7 to 7, shift work. And then they'll want to go to the gym and they'll want to do the strong intensity exercise, really get that heart rate going, really get, a good sweat on. But what happens is then the body is stimulated into this stress response. um so, not doing that too close to bedtime so that you get quality sleep, doing some form of breath work. Tapping is another good option for people like what you were saying that will wake up around, midnight, 1 o'clock, looking at the body function, um, and how to optimize those. And we kind of work on those in the BNC, but Um, Also the aspect of doing some form of like body scan. So if you wake up, it could be glucose, it could be, several factors. So obviously, disclaimer, anyone watching this, I am not giving you medical advice or suggesting to, just push through. Make sure you are booking a session with a coach, doing a coaching session, or consulting medical attention for it. But anyway, now that I did that whole spiel, if you are waking up in the night and you kind of have a heart racing, it can be an electrolyte issue, it can be a glucose issue where the glucose may be dropped into a hypoglycemic response, and so the body stimulates to help wake you up. If it's more of a cortisol, one of the things that has worked for several clients is just a little bit of fat, whether it's before going to bed or when they wake up. Like I had a colleague or a friend of mine that was a fireman, and so he was always on guard, throughout the night. And when that alarm would go off, or, the bell at the firehouse, he always had to be, on point and ready to go. And so one of the things that we did with him was he would utilize a little bit of fat through the evening. And that really ended up and helped to the point where he was able to double his sleep. So, there's things like that and that's where, working with people to optimize this routine truly helps.
Absolutely, it sure does. But it's a process like every other part of our journey, right? And never try to do everything all at once. You know, it took me months and months to get to the point that I could get up at sunrise and go out and see it, which is really funny because I don't anymore. And I remember you saying that early on when we first met. You were like, I don't even set an alarm clock. And I thought, well, how do you do that? Guess what? I don't have to. I do set one, but I'm up way before the alarm clock goes off. And it's from the body. My body is expecting to get that morning sunrise light. Like it's become ingrained in my body, which started 2.5 years ago, I think, when you and I met. And I would have never fathomed that would happen to me, but it's been a journey, and that's part of healing the body.
Yep. Yeah, it's a whole body, right? That's what our podcast is, right? That we are currently
Yeah,
talking on is in regards of healing the whole body, because it's not just one area. You have to look beyond um into these other spaces, these other realms, these what other avenues of the body in order to heal. And maybe that's past trauma, maybe that's stress, maybe that's, you know, and many people don't realize that getting up and seeing the sunrise helps to store that pineal melatonin to help with your sleep the following night. So many people think, it's counterproductive to be up first thing in the morning and seeing that sunrise and getting that light, when in reality it's actually providing a benefit. So
yeah. It was so funny um, because of the way my body is now, um, I'm in bed by 8, 9 o'clock. And again, that would have never happened before. My husband's like, well, that's why you wake up so early, you go to bed so or you go to bed so early, you
mhm.
wake up early. And it's like, yeah, no, you're right, it is. But again, it's darker. The sun sets sooner. I seen the sunset tonight. And I can feel already, and it's only, almost 7:30 our time. I can tell that it's time for bed. Now, I had a long day, and so I'm tired from that, but that's a normal tired. But I can tell my body's ready for bed. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. And when the body and that I chuckle because my husband has made the comment. He's like, even if we're out, he's like, yep, it's time to go home. Because when my body is, starting to wind down, I'm ready for bed. And he's made the comment, and it's not I'm exhausted, I'm, instantly out. I have this whole, and I know we have another coach, Coach Sly talks about her evening bedtime routine too a lot, especially after like her mental health meeting. And having this consistency, the body expects that. It knows what to expect. So because it's getting these proper signals, and it doesn't matter. I mean, even if, I'm traveling, that's one of the first things I will do is I'll do my grounding, even when it it doesn't matter whether I go east, west, south. Um that's part of what I do. It's just those are things that I can keep consistent, and I don't struggle with getting grounding in. I don't care if I'm standing outside, hanging onto a plant and people are coming in and out of a hotel. I'm gonna do my thing, right? I was on
Yep.
the phone with you when I went to Utah,
Mm-hmm.
and I was out, on their terrace or their patio, I guess, doing my grounding. It was just, those are things I can control. I couldn't necessarily control the bed I slept in, or I control my lighting because I took my little red night lights with me. um but there was things like that, and I see Patty's comment in regards of grounding mat and products being plugged in when not in use. Yes, when I'm at home, I have my grounding mats on my bed. I have a grounding mat on my underneath my feet right now. As I say, you have yours. I've got the wire here too. But it's, yeah, and to answer your question, Patty, yes, mine are plugged in. Um because if I'm up here in the office, my feet are on it. Yes, I could, start plugging things in. My bed, it's plugged in like behind the bed, kind of, underneath so I leave it plugged in. I don't unplug it when I'm not in bed. Obviously, for anyone that is watching this, and or watching over on Instagram, make sure if you are going to use a indoor grounding product, make sure that you have grounded outlets. Make sure you get your grounding products from a reputable source. So there's a
Correct.
lot of, and this is any, product we reference. I know you talked about the hydrogen water bottle. Make sure you get it from a reputable source. I've been a user of EchoGo. Yes, I do have an affiliation now with Echo Water, or in regards of the EchoGo, Echo Water, EchoGo. I have an affiliation with Echo Water for the EchoGo. I personally use the EchoGo. I enjoy the EchoGo. I've seen benefit, and I've seen benefit in my clients and clinical practice. So, with that being said, whether it's the hydrogen water bottle, whether it's the grounding mats, don't just get some, cheap knockoff, because you are exposing your body to it. So you want those quality products. There's, like I said, there's a couple different ones out there. If anyone has a question in regards of grounding or the Echo, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll get you links for those. But you can create a dirty electricity, and that can also be very disruptive. People that live in a heavily populated area and are using the grounding rod, there's a lot of energy that will flow through that too, and can create a negative or dirty electricity. So making sure that you're using proper equipment if you're going to use anything is the first place to start. But yes, Patty, I do leave mine plugged in.
Well, and I do too. And mine's not, I don't have the grounding mat. I don't have, but what I do have is this little cuff. And I don't have an affiliate with this company, but it's like a Velcro thing. It attaches, right? This is the piece that's plugged in. and then it snaps on. And then honestly, I put this on my leg when I'm teaching, like I did all day today. This I was attached to this thing, so I was at least still getting the benefits um, of grounding, even though I couldn't get up and go outside like I like to do during the day to get the vitamin D. Now I did at lunch, but yeah. So anyway, that's again, this is a practice, right, that I incorporated, but I didn't do this right off. This came later, but now it literally is plugged in, and it always is setting beside my computer, so I can at least utilize it during the day.
Yeah. And then she's asking in regards of how long do you leave your water in the copper water bottle before transferring to the Echo Go? Mine sits in my copper water bottle typically anywhere from 8 hours to 24 hours. So there's times where I will fill my copper water bottle first thing in the morning and it'll sit on all day. And then I will pour it out into the Echo bottles the next morning and kind of create this rotation. And then there's times where I drink through my Echo Go bottles. I drink my um electrolytes or my Shilajit, and I then drink the copper water. So it just depends kind of for me on what season we're in. If it's a little bit hotter, a little bit drier, I will drink through a little bit more water.
And I'm still able to put the bottles of water outside during the day. It's we get above freezing, so I make sure that my solarized waters outside during the day, and then I bring it in at night in case it dips below freezing. So, but and I drink that too, and I'll pour one of those into my copper water bottle, and then again the next morning I pour the water out of the copper water bottle into the hydrogen. I mean, it just sounds like, but again, these are not practices I started out with. None of this was all instantaneous. This was researching and figuring out why is copper so good for you. People are deficient in copper. They don't realize it. It's a very interesting avenue of research to go down on why you need copper. Yeah, and I do have an affiliate for the copper water bottle. That again, if you guys want to message me, I can give you that as well. So, but I don't have an affiliate for this. This is the earthing. So, I don't think you do either, do you, Becky?
I don't for earthing. I know inside the BNC community, Coach Kevin has an affiliation link under the affiliate circle. So if you are a BNC member and that's something you want to take advantage of, go to that circle because Kevin does have a link there. I don't off the top of my head remember if there's a code with it or not. But I do know that there is a affiliate link there.
But let me add to this real quick. Even though we're using these products, this still, I'm telling you, go outside and put your feet on the ground. That's free and it's the best. You know, we talk about good, better, best, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's kind of where I tend to go, right? So, am I going to drink water? Absolutely. If I don't have my copper water bottle, guess what I'm gonna excuse me. If I don't have my copper water bottle, I'm going to end up and have my stainless steel or my glass, right? I'm gonna have a vessel to consume water. Obviously, I can't get by with, not consuming water. So I'm going to have a vessel. Now, my hydrogen water bottle, again, I started that. We're talking probably 4, 5 years ago. I started with my first Echo Go bottle. So, I was doing that well before I'm ever looked at any of these other things. But yeah, making sure that you're optimizing your circadian rhythm, make sure you're working on mental health. That can be, joining a group, joining a session with a coach, speaking about things, doing affirmations, journaling, whatever aspect to support your mental health side of things, making sure you're optimizing your sleep. There's a lot of these basic practices, right, that you don't need a expensive supplement for. You don't need, um there's a lot of push right now, and yes, I'm choosing my words wisely. That's why I'm hesitating. Um there's a lot of push on social media right now for different products. What I use is my basics. And I'll update my highlights on Instagram over there for you friends, on what I basically use. And like I said, it doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be fancy. A lot of what I do is just basic. Um, and so I
Well,
want to encourage you, I guess, to not
uh,
feel as though you have to do a lot of this, right? When we look at, like you said, getting outside and seeing the sun, do we need the fancy red lights? Do we need the fancy spurting lamps? Do we need, X, Y, and Z? No. Sun provides us a lot of basically all the rays that we need as a living creature. Um, so you can get a lot of it, but that's going to mean being consistent. Being consistent with sleep, the parasympathetic, and then nutrition, yes, is a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the full puzzle.
right, right. So, um, interestingly, I have recently had my blood work done again, and it came back and it had some high iron. And, because for those of you that don't know, I am working with Dr. Amy Horniman, getting my thyroid and my hormones optimized. And the question was asked, well, what supplement are you taking that has iron in it? And I'm like, "Well, I don't take hardly anything." And I couldn't for the life of me figure out what it was until you and I were talking, Becky. And I was taking the heart and spleen supplements with MK supplements. And because I don't consume organ meat, and well, guess what? Spleen and heart has a high her iron content. Now, had I not gotten blood work, let's just think about this. And I just willy nilly was taking all the supplements that are out there because it was Black Friday and oh, there's a great deal on that. Um, but I am routinely, I mean, we're talking every 3 months getting my blood drawn so I can see what my levels are. And that was it. I mean, that was the only thing that could have caused higher iron. Now, it wasn't extreme or anything. It was just it showed high, and so I again, are you testing, right? Are you getting your blood drawn to see if you really need the supplements? And that's why I think Becky and I are such strong believers in just not taking anything and everything that is pushed out there on social media.
Yeah. Well, and you don't know what is just going to create expensive pee. You don't know
Right.
what is going to be absorbed and methylated by the body. Does your body truly need it? Right. And I just got off a coaching session earlier where we were discussing the fact of, well, have you tried, X, Y, and Z? Such as, part of this MFF challenge that we're doing is the ferments. We were discussing the fact of enzymatic function. And I had asked my client tonight, you know, is that something that you have incorporated, is a little bit of fermented food, because she was looking to lower inflammation, she was looking for gut health, and the aspect of incorporating, well, and this will go in with, sorry YouTube if we end up and get nixed on this. This will go in with the GLP-1 friends too. But in regards of the ferment for gut health and enzymatic function, the fermented foods increase that stomach acid production, but they also help to break down the proteins that you're consuming. So when we look to balance this and balance that microbial system, it does help to get these fermented foods in and do part of the challenge. So I put a link earlier in the comments. If you want to join us for, you know, the 90-day challenge, there's still time. You can get in. But if you need, for anyone else that is listening, if you need that gut support or reducing inflammation, make sure you're digesting the foods or adjusting your nutrition before you go and start adding, because I've had people not saying that digestive enzymes or ox bile or any of that isn't of benefit, but I've had people add a lot of digestive enzymes and it not necessarily help them. So just be mindful of that. But for the other friends that have a lot of food noise or cravings, one of the things that the ferments also do is it helps release the GLP-1. So when we're looking at the stimulation of it, fermented foods help with promoting the satiety. It does help also, again, in that gut aspect of the gut lining, and like I said, it stimulates the release of the GLP-1, so interacting with those receptors to help you feel full. The GPR41 and the GPR43 receptors, so that you feel full. It quiets that noise. It helps with nutrient absorption. So again, where you were saying the iron was off, well, if you had something to help you break down the proteins, break down the red meat, absorb the iron off the food you're consuming, would you have needed the supplement? Not, again, love you, Michael, dearly, but I'm not against the supplements either.
Right.
But again, making sure that you lower inflammation, because anytime we have elevated inflammation, and many of us also have this dysregulated gut, eating foods out of season can increase that. There's a lot of things, depending what you're consuming, that will increase that too. So make sure you are improving that gut health. But like I said, break down your meat also helps with the metabolic response. So you may not need, and I'm talking to all you dear friends on YouTube and Instagram, you may not need a lot of the quote pokes, if you just can enhance. Now, I know you and I have spoke about this a lot beyond just the challenge, because you were very consistent
Oh, yeah.
with what, you know, carnivore you were doing. But you've started to add some of the ferments and some other foods in there too, and seeing good results.
Oh my goodness, huge results, right? So just by adding in the ferments, um, I was able to see a blood sugar reading of, I believe it was 94
Mm-hmm.
last week. I tested again today, and it was above 100, but not much. And again, I, that is really the one thing that I've changed, is adding the fermented foods in. Well, obviously my body's responding well. My blood sugar is responding to that. So, and I'm actually going to do a post on it, because I've not revealed what my blood sugar was really running this summer. But no, Becky knows, but I kept that pretty close to the heart, because I couldn't figure out what was driving such extremely high blood sugars when I was doing everything right. The circadian rhythm and strict carnivore. And it backfired, is what it happened to me. For me personally, I was carnivore for far too long. And it really tanked my thyroid and my hormones. This is the biggest thing that now I'm having to dig out of. Um, and to heal even more, thinking that I was doing so good because I didn't cheat. I mean, when I tell you strict carnivore, it was pretty much meat. There was no vegetables in there whatsoever. And again, my body needed to have the fermented foods and the healthy carbs in season. We're talking about a sweet potato. We're talking about that. And all I kept thinking is, oh, it's bad. Oh, it's bad. I can't. My blood sugar's going to go up. And all I was doing was digging the hole deeper into my body. So, it was it was a good lesson learned, right? Because I really thought I was doing a good thing, but in essence, it was backfiring my body, because your body, your brain, your hormones, your thyroid, every part of you needs some natural carbs, healthy carbs. We're not talking about running around and eating processed foods or eating, sandwiches for every meal, right? Things like that, or potato chips, or the pie and all of that. Those are not healthy carbs. But the natural carbs in season, that I'm also having to incorporate back in. But the fermented foods for me has been a game changer with the gut health.
Absolutely. And since we're discussing the aspect of supplements, one of the questions that come in was in regards of methylene blue. So yes, if you scroll back through my Instagram, you will maybe see a couple pictures. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Maybe I could probably count them on one hand.
Yeah,
The pictures of me with my blue tongue, right? So the thing that I look at with supplements is supplement, right? I have, you can see essential oils over my shoulder, um, products over, the other shoulder. The aspect with methylene blue or with a supplement is supplemental. Um, I have used methylene blue when I feel like I need that extra protection, right? I need that little bit of something. It's not a routine cyclical type thing. I don't use methylene blue every day. I don't, it's more because it is a very strong antioxidant also. It does have benefits in regards of mood, brain function, a lot of support to cellular and the mitochondria, but it's also a double edge. So if you do it, it's like a bell curve, if you will. If you use a little bit, it can be a benefit, but if you end up and you overdo it, it can create some stress to the body. So making sure that you are using a safe and effective, to answer the question in regards of methylene blue, I'm the same way with any supplement. I'm, like I said, not against it. Just make sure you're using them safe and make sure you know what you're using them for, right?
right,
I don't use a lot of the methylene blue because I have the hydrogen water. It
right.
helps me reduce the inflammation. It helps um, supercharge on a cellular hydration. If you are optimizing your circadian routine, you're doing a lot of these natural things, right? The circadian routine is going to help with regulating the overall. If you do the grounding, that's going to end up and help with boosting the exclusion zone water. It's going to help with that energy aspect. So again, a lot of these things and the ATP, making sure you're eating in season, making sure you're feeding your body with the proper food and nutrition signals will help with that ATP production. I can't even talk tonight. It's a Monday. So yeah, just make sure that if you do choose to supplement, I guess, on that, you're wise about it.
Absolutely. Well, I do see a message. Hold on. Let me check and see if I have a question on Instagram here real quick.
I was to say on a completely 110% unrelated, since we are discussing toxins and support for the body, on an unrelated topic, because in my stories this weekend, I did post, that I had gone and got my nails done with my daughter. Someone had asked me nail shape, which random for one of our Monday night lives, but hey, it's a question. I'm going to end up and answer it for you. So my daughter does more of an almond shape. I do more of a square with rounded corners because I watch little kids, so I don't want to scratch them with pure square nails. So I round the corners off so they're not sharp. But that is my toxic trait, if you will. It's something that I enjoy going and doing with my daughter. I am consistent in a lot of other areas so that my body is healthy enough it can process some of those toxins out. But yes, that is one of my toxic traits. So even if you don't, even if you're not 100% perfect, you can still end up and see great progress. It doesn't have to be perfection. And I think that's where many people go with things that they're trying to do. They're trying to make it perfection. It doesn't have to be perfection. Just consistency. What was your question?
Well, I was going to say, and that's been part of my problem with my journey was perfection, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to heal. I wanted to heal now. I wanted to heal fast. And why am I not losing weight? And why is my blood sugar up? And why is this? And I'm eating this way. And I changed my laundry detergent. I use non-toxic laundry detergent. Like I've gone down some, clean, I don't burn candles. I don't have any plug-in stuff. We don't have any of that in our home or in our camper. But I've done that for quite some time. And it was more about the protection or the perfection of it. And I had to learn. I'm learning and still learning, right, to let go of a lot of that perfectionist tendencies, because again, that drive to heal has been so great, but yet so elusive. And I haven't. I know Dr. Amy Horniman asked me. She's like, "Oh, are you tracking your food?" And I'm like, "No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I am not. I know exactly what I'm consuming at this point, right? I know how many eggs I can eat in the morning with how many strips of bacon with my yogurt. I know what that is. I know how many grams of protein that is because I tracked for years.
Yeah.
And I had to let go of that. I think you did too, didn't you?
Yeah, so it was 4 months ago. I was very diligent. So I had been using MyFitnessPal since 2017. That's how long, various forms of the journey that I had been on. And not only the MyFitnessPal and the tracking and the weighing and the measuring, but there was a time where I stepped away from even my Fitbit, my Oura Ring, checking, glucose, ketones. I've wore several CGMs over the years, and I stepped away from all of that. And I have since added a few things back in, only because we are doing this 90-day challenge. So someone will ask, how was my sleep? How was my recovery? How was, X, Y, or Z um, as part of this challenge? Well, I can tell you, my um, Aura Ring today gave me a 91 on recovery. Obviously, I'm, consistent with. I'm currently pulling up my Aura Ring, um, and it's already telling me your ideal bedtime is between 8:30 and 9:45. um, so that's why I'm hesitating, or because it's like, well, that wasn't the screen I was looking for. Thanks. Um, I was looking for my actual report or sleep, but anyway, it was a 91 and like an 86. I got good deep sleep, I got good REM sleep. All of that was good, but again, if you know only reason I am doing it, only reason I am, tracking even like my weight is part of the challenge. I'm
Right.
doing it as part of the challenge.
Right.
Otherwise, no, I still wouldn't be, but that's one of the metrics, if you will, that I'm doing for the challenge.
So I got a question in. It says, for beginners, all this change can feel overwhelming. Where do you recommend someone start? That's a great question. What would you say? I know what I
Sleep.
would say, but let's see what you would say. It's probably the same thing.
Get your sleep right.
Yep.
Get your sleep right. That would be the number one place that I would start, is getting your sleep right. Making sure that you are getting to bed at a decent time, making sure you're getting that quality sleep, because if your sleep ain't right, your cortisol ain't going to be right. Your ghrelin signal isn't going to end up to be right. There's, a lot of things that are going to be off if you don't have that sleep right.
Right.
So make sure you start with the sleep, go from there. From there, I would look at circadian rhythm.
That's exactly what I would say. And you don't have to go buy expensive blue blocking glasses at all. Both Becky and I have, both in our Instagram, if you go to our link tree, we both have Midwest um links. I think the blue blocking glasses are like $35. That's it.
Mm.
Some of them go for hundreds of dollars. But I don't, you don't need all those expensive things, but a good getting using the blue blockers at night when that sun goes down, and the lights go on. Um, this was huge for me in helping my melatonin naturally work. So, yeah, I would agree with you. Start with your sleep, and then work into the circadian rhythm, the going outside and just standing on the ground in your bare feet. Now, not all of us are Becky, and not all of us go out in a tank top and shorts and walk in the snow. But I still will go out there with my sweatpants on with bare feet and maybe a t-shirt on, and I stand on the ground. But I worked up to that too. You didn't start out that way either.
No, and that's just it. About 4 years ago, I was outside. I would go in my sweater. I would go in my hoodie. I would be barefoot, but I would also be outside drinking something hot, right? Then I learned, obviously, more in regards of the hormone signals, circadian signals, not drinking something like coffee first thing in the morning, doing more of like my Shilajit instead, right? But I would be out there and I'd be bundled up, but I'd have the naked eyes. So my eye would get it, but I wasn't getting the secondary signals, right? Which is the temperature and um food signal. So food and temperature are both signals for the body too. as well as the eyes. That's why you want to align what you're seeing with what the body is being told, right? So working in harmony, if you will, on these signals and getting more of that gentle aspect, not going from a modern heated home, which, yes, friends, I love my heating and air also, not disagreeing with it, but acclimating to the changing of the seasons, right? Making sure that you're doing it on a routine basis, because if you go outside, like Ruth and I were, talking in the middle of wintertime, and you haven't done any form of cold exposure or temperature exposure, that's going to end up and be a stress to the body. So
There's a follow-up to that. It says, I have Raynaud's syndrome. Do you have suggestion for that?
yes, and I have, and she isn't going to care if I end up in a share. I have worked with a friend that had Raynaud's, and exactly what I just said with the Raynaud's. She is now able to be out in the cold, doesn't get the flares, but you cannot do it. You will end up and get, the white fingers. So let's backtrack. Anyone that doesn't know what Raynaud's is, it'll typically, most people end up and have it in their hands where their fingertips go completely white. It is very painful and it hurts. But like I said, I have worked with and had clients acclimate to the point where they are able to tolerate the cold, and they actually put the Raynaud's at bay. Raynaud's is another form of a autoimmune condition. And just like my autoimmune condition, you can end up and put it in remission. I'm not going to tell you it will ever go away, but it can go in remission.
Absolutely.
And you can tolerate cold again.
Yep. And again, it's a process. Everything is starting with baby steps and working your way up. Like I said, nobody walks out barefoot with shorts on and a tank top like Becky does. But you know what? That's her cold plunge. I mean, she doesn't have a cold plunge out there that she's climbing into at, 30 degrees and she's out there walking. Again, it's free. So I think that's the big thing, that our big message that you and I push all the time is none of this has to be expensive to heal your body.
Exactly. A lot of free practices that you can take advantage of. Of those, free practices, if you have any questions or do feel overwhelmed, we have a whole host of coaches that help and support people day in, day out. Feel free to join us in the community, join us and book a coaching session. Those are all listed on the Beyond Nutrition website. So if you just end up and go to beyondnutrition.com, you will be able to see those.
Absolutely. Well, we have a meeting to get to, Becky.
We do. I've got to jump over and do the BNC community meeting. So if you want to join us, feel free to join us over there. Otherwise, we will see you next week. And we do have guests coming up. I have spoke with a couple. One is going to be in January. One is going to be yet in December to kick off 2025 with a bang. So make sure you keep an eye out for those. I will get them posted as soon as I can.
And don't forget to like and comment. We have no sponsors. We just do that on our own because we have a passion to help people heal their whole body. So it helps our algorithms. And to the person over on my Instagram, you are very welcome. We are so glad to answer your questions. And feel free again to join us over in the BNC community. We go into a lot more detail, and that's where you can find coaches that align with you as well. There's multiple coaches, like Becky said. So with that, I guess we're done.
We are. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week ahead.